problem with T5 5-speed upper fifth gears is that they have a variety of different sizes. If you notice the diameters of these gears, they go from small all the way to large. This is one of the smallest factory gears that you can get, and this is one of the largest factory gears you can get. This is the .80 overdrive that I make, the custom one I call the Sebring .80 overdrive. The problem is normal operation, you can put the fifth gear through the rear bearing race like this. You can see that this gear, each gear as they get progressively larger will still go through the race, except for this particular one, which is the factory .80 set. This gear was used in the Cosworth Sierras, the TVR, and the Ford Mustang Motorsport. The early versions of the Motorsport box came with .80 gear sets like this. Basically same gear, different splines. And this is my Sebring .80 set, and obviously you can see it will not go through the race. Now, normal operation, when you want to try to take these units apart, you take the gear train out with the 5-speed gear because you can slide it through this rear race. But sometimes what happens is people try to take this gear, this is one of the .80 sets, they try to pull it off the gear train like this, and they put a puller behind it and they damage the gear. In fact, some of the factory overhaul manuals tell you that you have to actually break the gear or damage it to remove it. And you can see here that this has some damage marks in it from somebody trying to put a puller on it. So what I'm going to show you today is how to remove these gears actually without ruining them, which is something that's been a problem because everybody breaks these gears taking them apart, then they run out of gears. I have these .80 sets in the 27 spline, and in 2014 I'll have them in the 23 spline again, and because most people again are breaking them. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, so here I have a T5 5-speed that has one of these .80 sets in it. And you can see here that the gear got blown, it got damaged pretty good from racing. And I've already taken the top cover off, the extension housing, and the front bearing retainer and input shaft. These are pretty basic. You should know how to do this already if you're going to be working on these transmissions anyway. The object here is simply, we're going to take the 5-speed section out, we're going to drop the counter gear down, and then we're going to push the whole gear train forward like this, and expose the rear bearing race inside the case, and then cut the race. If you think about it, 5-speed gears can run, especially the factory ones if you can find them, over $150. So you sacrifice a bearing race for $18 and you got yourself at least a safe 5-speed gear. So I'm going to take apart the 5-speed synchronizer assembly. Should of course use proper gloves and everything because this stuff is going to be sharp as hell. I use a socket like this and I rest it on the 5-speed fork, and I have a variety of punches that I use. Always use new dowel pins, never use old dowel pins. I hold the fork like this and pop it off, get that out of the way. Take the rail out. Now, carefully pry off the 5th gear, like that. Okay, let's look at this baby. Look at the damage of that gear there. Look at the damage on that baby. Something else. Right. Now, here's what I was talking about. Normal times you can, normal type of T5s, get the little keys, get them out of the way. You can't get this gear through this race. Normally you can take this whole gear train out like this, but you can't. So you see, we can't get this gear through this race over here. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it like this, okay? I'm going to take this plate off now. Now somebody's been in this before and actually damaged this plate and took all the pieces off of it already, so usually there's little locking tabs on it, but you can see they're all broken off already. So somebody never... What I'll do is I'll just simply shock the bolts like this to get them loose. really tight. Wow. Wow. I'm gonna have to shock these some more. There we go. One thing you could use, I mean, I don't like using a compressor that much, so I use one of these electric guns. Alright, I'm going to use one of my heavy duty support plates. I'm going to use one of these plates that I normally use. These are the they won't stretch out on their load. Take the shim out. Just jiggle this and the rear bearing race for the counter gear will come off. Alright, so the next step is we're going to flip this around like this. Okay, so if you lift like this, if you lift it up like this, you can pull the cluster out, and you want this rear bearing race over here, just to be out of the case. That's enough to let the cluster drop down a bit. Okay, once that's like that, then we flip it over like this. Take a punch, any punch enough to get into the race, and just gently punch the race into the case like this. Now you get the idea. So now what happens is I've got this bearing race in the case. Okay? You're not going to be able to get it out like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little cutoff wheel. You could use a Dremel motor tool. I have a Fordham tool, and I'm going to cut this race at 180 degrees and then pop it apart. I used to use these Dremel tools. It was a Model 200, and you could put a cutoff wheel on these things. But they're not dependable. I've gone through about 4 of them in a year. But for a one-time deal, they're okay. They're good to have in your shop, but I don't like using them. Instead of the Dremel, I use a Fordham. Use one of the cutoff wheels. I get these. It's a Trimax wheel. You can get it from any machine tool supply place. It's got adjustable speeds on it. You know, more torque. Away you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this race now. Just like this. Takes a bit of time. Go back and forth. You can actually look through the opening in the back to see how deep you've gone into the race. What we want to do is, again, hit it at 180 degrees. Do one side, flip it, and then do the other. Once you start cutting a groove fairly deep, it goes pretty quick. It's okay to bump up into the back of the gear a little bit. It's not really going to hurt it at all. So what I do is I look inside here to see, I can see the race and see how far I've cut it down. I have a sharp chisel that can fit into these grooves. You have to be very careful when trying to chisel hardened steel like this because it'll chip. So always wear safety goggles and wear protective clothing if you can. I'm going to cut this a little bit more and then flip it and do the other side. Now what you do is you look through this back side over here and you turn the race 180 degrees. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you're going to cut it again on the top over here and start a new cut now on the top. Starting the cut is usually the hardest part, really. So I kind of hold the race with one finger to keep it from spinning. And I'm not applying much pressure, I just want to start the cut first. Just want to get the groove going. Now it's time consuming, but again, it's worth saving your fifth gear. I've removed many gear sets like this with no issue at all. So one thing that I do is I take my finger and I push the race as far back as I can towards the case and kind of hold it so I can get the cutter into the front over here. And it kind of, as the wheel wears, it actually works to your advantage because it allows you to get to the front portion of the race. Now it looks like I've cut pretty good on. I'm pretty much down into the bearing race. Now I've got this chisel over here. I kind of ground really sharp. Okay, it's very sharp on the edges, and you have to be careful and use safety goggles. Let's get a close-up look. I'm going to wipe it down of the race, what I've done. You see I've sliced the race here, 180 degrees, again over here, 2 spots. See the way it gets pushed in, like this. Now I take the chisel, put it in that groove, give it a whack. Just like that. See, I've broken it up in 2 pieces, like that. Get a pair of pliers and I'll fish the ends of the race out. Like this. See? And we're happy now that I have this out. I should be able to just pop this gear train right through the top. Just like that. Right up. This is the other part of the race. So you can see, we just simply cut the race in half. Look, this wasn't even at 180 degrees, but it managed to come apart. See? Pretty easy. I'm going to remove this 5-speed snap ring. Then I'm going to put it on the press and take the gear off. Now, even if this gear wasn't broken, you would be able to remove it correctly, you know, and not damage it at all. I'll show you how I take it off on the press anyway. It's always good to have one of these sets of bearing clamps. You can get them at Harbor Freight, Snap-on, or Craftsman, or anybody has them. We're going to support the first gear with this clamp and then press it off. Alright, so you simply just press this gear right through first in the rear bearing. And again, if the gear wasn't broken, you would still save a perfectly, you know, good 5th gear. Okay, so we completed taking apart the 5-speed overdrive set off of one of these long main shaft assemblies. I'm kind of too busy right now to show you how to put it back together on the long main shaft, but I got one of these short shafts that I use on my JT5 transmissions. Pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to show you how to put it together on the short main shaft, but again it's the same thing. While I'm at it, all this information is in my book, How to Rebuild and Modify High Performance Manual Transmissions. It's a great read. It's got over, let's see, it's got 144 pages and a little bit over 400 color pictures of building and modifying manual transmissions. It includes coverage on the Muncie, the T10, the Super T10, top loader, Ford T5, and the Chrysler A833. It's a good reference manual. It's got a lot of good information in it. Check it out. Let's get back to part 2 now. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the main shaft without the 5-speed gear on it, but put the rear bearing in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the case. This works with both the long main shafts and the short main shafts. Notice I got my finger over here holding the rear bearing in place. You're going to lay it in like this. Then you're going to put the rear bearing race in here. Tap it in place. Now you're going to be pressing the 5-speed gear on the main shaft in a press. So you remove the rail like this. Now what I use is a box wrench that has anything flat on one side. And I use it, I position it like this to hold the race in place. So it doesn't slip out in the press. This actually works perfect, this wrench. Now the race can't come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this gear on the main shaft like this, and then press it down on the press. And over here on the front, we're going to be pressing against this and putting the two pieces together. That's how you put a .80 overdrive set on. Okay, so what I got is the wrench here supporting the bearing so it doesn't drop down. That's why I did that. I've got a little race here holding the 5th gear in place. And notice the way I have it set up where the cluster is overhanging kind of in the back. And once you put a little tension on it, it's actually going to spin around on the main shaft. And you want to make sure that your synchronizer rings are engaged in the proper keyway slots over here so that you don't bottom out your rings on the keys and ruin them. And then just carefully press the gear down. Again, this procedure is only for the .80 overdrive sets or the sets where the 5th gear doesn't go through the rear bearing race. What I'll do is I'll just check from time to time that I'm clearing the cluster back over here. Now it seems like it's bottomed out, so carefully going to remove this and then lift the whole thing out. I don't really care if anything drops. Then when I check to see here, as if my snap ring groove is exposed, which means the gear is bottomed out and I have enough room to put my snap ring groove in. Okay, so now once the gear is in place, I'll take out my little hold down. Always check this, the snap ring groove is clean too, that there's no metal debris in the groove. You can blow a little bit of it out. And snap rings are directional, you know. A lot of people don't realize that. It's cut in a V like this. the groove. If you put it like this, you'll never be able, if you put it in upside down like this, you'll never be able to get the pliers on it. You have to put it on like this so that the pliers can actually grab it. You can put it on the other way, but you'll never be able to get it off that easy. And that's impolite for the people that may have to rebuild the unit later on down the line. This is the big fifth gear on the bottom where it's going to go in like that. Just checking it out first, make sure everything fits right. That looks awesome, looks good. What I'll do is I'll pop the 5-speed rail back in. And that's our .80 fifth gear installation. The rest is a regular T5 assembly from there.